Welcome back, Guardian. Today we're going to be talking about Argent Ordnance, that new rocket mod, and the new version of a rocket cell build this season. We don't have Tyrant anymore, but Oppressive Darkness is back, and I'm going to be talking about how to build with that to make a really sick Grandmaster build when it comes to the Festering Core, or really any Grandmaster that's going to be launching with that 1100 freaking light level. So let's hop into this video, hit subscribe, and let's get started. So if you didn't already know, if you're doing the event on IO, every Umbral Engram you get is granting higher light drops, almost like you're getting prime drops. I don't think that this is by accident though. I think it's purposely done because of what I was just saying, the Grandmasters being 1100 light. So when you figure the time it's going to take to grind your artifact up, plus your natural prime engram farming, I think that Bungie's kind of giving us a little hand this DLC by letting the Umbrals be a little bit higher light drop, but it seems to only be working mainly for the armor, and weapons are having some sort of a cap on them. I could be completely wrong, but as far as your stats on this build, same as it always has been previous DLC since Grandmaster started. Focus on your recovery, then your discipline, then your mobility, and then your melee, and then your intellect, and then your resilience finally last, because it doesn't do anything for you. It's all about those resist mods, so building up that higher stat armor to then put the resist on to still have naturally good stats is really what you want to focus on. But recovery is going to be the most focused stat, especially in Grandmaster activity. Anything outside Grandmaster, you can pretty much just use whatever you want to. Those are like fun gun builds basically. But Grandmaster is going to be dialed in very specifically to give you the best slayability to maintain that combat flow. Starting off with the helmet piece, I have that minor resist on. The resist mods you're going to see in this video are going to change from Grandmaster to Grandmaster. It's all going to depend on the add layout, how many majors and minors, and the ratio of that, plus the boss and things like that. So just know that I'm going to have those in every armor piece, but it will vary depending on the Grandmaster. I'm also using a rocket finder, and I'm also using a scatter projectile targeting with my one extra point that I have left over because it takes 5 energy for the Argent Ordnance, which grants you 20% rocket bonus damage, as we'll show right here. Let's kind of go over it because you can actually stack this mod, but I wanted to find out if it was worth stacking. So the natural damage is 35,479 on just a typical yellow bar using the Vandal and the Tribute Hall. Now we add one Argent Ordnance on it to see how much it goes up, and like I was saying, it's at 20% going to 42,575. You can also pay attention to see how much 20% will take off that Vandal's meter. So when I had nothing on, it was at the V on Vandal, and now when I put one of them on, it's between the T, the start of the E on Simulated. Now let's do the stacking, because it says you can stack these, but I wanted to find out again, is it worth stacking? Is it going to give me 40% bonus damage? I kind of doubted it, but I wanted to find out for myself anyway. So one shot, we compare the numbers on it, it looks like it goes up by 5%. Once I realized it only went up by 5%, I knew that I wasn't going to waste 5 energy by stacking any more on my armor slots, so my testing ended after stacking that one on. But I wanted to see if high energy fire would stack with it as well, and what I found out was, since high energy fire doesn't drop off until a target's dead, when you put it on with Argent Ordnance, it actually cancels out high energy fire altogether because of that reason, because high energy fire will not go away typically until a target dies. So when you stack it with the Argent Ordnance, and since it does go away after a limited amount of time, it completely will just cancel out high energy fire. So don't think you can stack those and get 30% of damage or anything. It completely acts like you just don't have high energy fire on at all. But if you're using other type of weapons with high energy fire, it still works the same. It's just when you pull your rocket launcher out, it will take off your high energy fire and doesn't give you any benefit, but it does make you a fucking walking tank in battle. And that's why I love it. I'm glad that it exists in the game. If you didn't know how you can dump this ball in, it works exactly the same as it works in the Shadowkeep dungeon. What you do is you start putting it in, holding square if you're on console, and right when the circle almost fills up, hit triangle to switch weapons, and you can keep dumping these in over and over again to turn this into a fast, heroic event. That way you can get plenty of Umbral Engrams, increase your light, and start farming out some of these insane god rolls that I'm really trying to get with that fusion rifle right now. We'll talk about that in a future video. Let's move on to the arm piece now. Same with that, using one of your energies for a minor or a major resist, and then I'm going to be focusing on loaders a lot this season just because of the kind of builds that I'm going to be making. So I have a regular rocket loader because I'm going to be doing mainly field prep reloads with my rocket. I'm always using field prep, max blast, max handling rockets, and then either enhanced fusion rifle loader because I'm going to be using a lot of fusion rifles, or the enhanced bow loader if I'm using the Trinity bow, which has that insane catalyst going on right now. And then on top of that, I'm going to be using Wrath of Rasputin to go with that solar rocket to keep making these Warmind cells, to then blow them up, creating even more beastness to give me more insane ad control, which is going to really come in handy, especially in the Festering Core with all the ads we're going to be seeing, which is probably going to be one of the hardest Grandmasters that we've seen to date, especially if it has all 3 style champs in it. It's going to require some insane teamwork at that boss, and those cells are going to come in handy the same way that it comes in handy during this IO public event. The first half of this video is going to be the non-armament version of this build. I'm going to be talking about how you can implement armaments to go with the Festering Core build and kind of transform it into like a hive armament or a taken armament kind of build situation. We'll talk more of that as the video goes along, but for the arm piece, Wrath of Rasputin, the 2 loaders, and then the minor or the major resist, you can use whatever weapon loadout you want. It's just really crucial that you have some kind of a solar rocket, whether it be Blue Shift from Year 1, Sins of the Past, Roar of the Bear, or any other solar rocket you might have in your arsenal. But I highly recommend that it does have field prep to give you that extra rocket in reserves, to give you that fast on the move reload, and for the max blast, max handling, to give you the fastest kind of gameplay for a rocket launcher in Destiny 2. Trinity really does work well with this build, but when it comes to your chest piece, there's going to be many variations you can use. So let's hop into that and I'll go over all the different kind of variations. So taking charge is going to be one of them. As you're making orbs with Trinity or Telesto or Jotun, it's going to charge you with light to then go with Argent Ordnance to give you that bonus damage, which is going to happen all the time in running gun combat. So it's just a for sure perk that can happen no matter the situation. The more ads, the better. Another one that I'm looking at is Precision Charge when I'm using Trinity, but it really depends on how well Trinity is going to work in Grandmaster. If I'm going to be able to get as many kills and as many chain kills and crit kills in Grandmaster to keep the charge light buff going for my rocket launcher, or if taking charge is going to be a better option for that. One of the staple perks I'm going to be using is going to be Counter Charge. Anytime I stagger a champ, it's going to charge me with light to then go with the Argent Ordnance. I can see many situations like this happening in Grandmaster. I'm versus like an anti-barrier champ or an unstoppable champion. Anytime they pop that shield up on an anti-barrier, I bust their shield down. I then get that 20%, no matter if I have an orb laying around or get kills with Trinity. It's a guaranteed bonus damage. Then I can take the champion out a lot easier. And then as I take that champion out easier with my rocket, it's then going to make a cell because of Wrath of Rasputin always making cells on yellow bar kills to then kill all the other ads around. And then depending on if it's overload champions, I'll be using the overload grenade. That way I don't have to sacrifice a weapon option. I can still keep Slayer options as well. Same thing with Inferno Whip. If I'm doing any kind of solo situation, I usually use mid-tree solar to have the well. That way I can use the unstoppable melee to go with Telesto to then go with an anti-barrier primary weapon. And then one that I might be using would be Breach Refractor. I never got much benefit from this perk in previous seasons, but it could be on this build considering that I'm not using any exotics to help me benefit my recharge rates. The benefits that I'm getting not using exotics kind of outweigh any exotic that I've tried out so far. Even though I love I Have Another World and Nez Sin and things like that, using any exotic kind of breaks the build in the state that it's in. Breach Refractor grants 4 seconds towards your melee and your grenade. I wanted to go ahead and mention it, but I might not using it. It really just depends once Grandmaster comes out. But moving on to the leg piece, same thing, 1 energy towards a minor or major resist, always traction for that hidden mobility tier. Whatever your mobility says, always add a +1. So right now I'm at a 4, but I'm actually at a 5 with traction. Rocket Scavenger so I can get more pickups. That way when I get in that rocket dump phase, I have plenty of rockets that I collected along the way, using that rocket finder especially. And then always Fireteam Medic. I love Fireteam Medic. I know how much benefit it's granted me in the past when I'm running and gunning and playing hella aggressive. And it's always been a lifesaver for me and the team that I'm on. It's been an extremely reliable perk, and that's why I'm keeping it on this build. That could always change in the future. It always depends on the order of importance versus how much room I have on my build. And now moving on to the final piece. Again, minor or major resist, always recuperation when I can fit it in, and always special finisher. And then when I'm not using void subclasses, I will be using Rage of the Warmind or Fireteam Medic. Again, going back to order of importance. I'll explain more of that when I go over the armament version, but by having Rage of the Warmind with Wrath, I can make more cells because of the solar damage that it adds onto it. But like I said, when I'm using Void, I'm going to be going Oppressive Darkness. It used to grant a 50% bonus damage when it weakened targets. I'm not sure what it does now because I haven't currently unlocked it yet to be able to test it, but I have a feeling it's probably exactly the same. If you're curious the role that I have on my Roar of the Bear, it's Rangefinder, Field Prep, Alloy Casing, Quick Launch. Always use Icarus Grip on it. Icarus lets you pinpoint your rocket shots just a little bit more accurate and lets it sway a lot easier to target as well. I'm also going to be using Telesto with this build as I said earlier, and Trinity Ghoul, maybe Jotun as well. It just really depends on the Nightfall and the burns that I'm going to need. but Telesto is still one of the best ad clear weapons in the game. It doesn't really matter what you put it up against. If you're already good at fusion rifles, then it rewards a skilled hand with fusion rifles. That's just basically what Telesto does. Even if you're not good at the game, Telesto is still a great weapon to use. But really any fusion rifle is what I'm always going to be using, or Trinity with this build. Trinity and the Festering Core are really what inspired this build. Whenever I saw that I had Argent Ordnance, I didn't even know that I had it. I just checked my perk slots and I was like, what the hell is this? And I was like, damn, Bungie is speaking my language this DLC. They already know. The next couple minutes is just this build making cells and just crushing everything. If you missed the live stream when I was piecing this all together and building it, this is just kind of catching you up to speed and why I recommend grinding for it. This situation here is a great example of recuperation. I start doing that C walk around all the ads, cutting in the shape of a C, so I can offset the AI's shot pattern, make them have to reset every time I cut in that shape of a C. It's a great survival tactic. If you watch my How to Be a Grandmaster player guide that I made, the video before this one, before this DLC dropped, it's a lot of great tips in there. But when it comes to the rocket you need, I'll always say it, a fill prep rocket, max blast, max handling, and then to go with those cells, it fucking crushes. It shreds every ad in this event. Like, you will be the army of one with this build on, and it's a really important build to have this DLC for really any fire team. If somebody on your fire team does have it on and they know how to master rockets and master fusion rifles, it deals a lot of DPS, has a lot of movement to it, a lot of agility, the survival rate on it with the resist mods, your recharge rates if you build your stats up correctly to at least hit a tier 7. You have your energy for ad clear, and then when you're ready to start shitting all over everybody, you just pull your rocket out when your charge is light and then just start going into the rocket dump phase using that fill prep, which is like outlaw reload speed on the go, and then you have that kind of blast radius to go with that. That's what makes those rockets the best in Destiny 2, is because the amount of circumference that you cover with the blast radius and then how fast you can reload and fire those back out back to back, plus having extra rockets because of fill prep. Then you mix that with Telesto, which is a hell of an ad clear king, with Trinity, which is now an ad clear king for bows. It's still not as fast as Telesto, but that's kind of relative to whatever you're going to be doing, because if you're doing the IO public event, Telesto's better, but if you're doing like a strike or something like that, and there's a lot of long distance ads, then Trinity, especially on PC, I'm sure would probably outslay Telesto because of the amount of crit you can keep hitting on it. The nerf that Bungie did to all fusion rifles, it makes it kind of spread out too much when you're using Telesto or really any kind of fusion. If you don't know what it means when they talk about flooring weapons, basically what that is every fusion rifle in the game right now gets 23 meters of range, and then on the 24th meter, they'll all do the least amount of damage basically, and that 23rd meter and forward really depend on how much range you have on the fusion. If you use like a timeline vertex and you have one with a lot of range and one with little range, well, when you're at 23 meters, the one with the more range will do more damage, but when you hit 24 meters, they'll both do the same damage no matter what the range is on them, basically. So same thing with Arantel, same with Aletha, same with Main Ingredient, same with Loaded Question. They all have that 24 meter fall off, but Telesto, the reason why it's still good, same with Jotun, is because they don't have any fall off. They have like infinite range basically, and the ad control you get with Telesto or even Jotun is just phenomenal. But here's a screenshot of the build. Take a screenshot of both of these that I'm about to show you, the build itself, and then the chest piece options that'll vary depending on what Nightfall you're doing. So all those can change, and it'll make sense whenever you know what Grandmaster it is, so you know what kind of champions it is. Now for the final part of the video, I'm just going to show you how you can build it out for armaments. I'm also going to show you the Festering Core version of this, because there's Taken, and I have Taken armaments. But if you want to get those free raid chests from the Dreaming City raid, I have videos for those. I can leave you a link in the description if you want to farm those out. They're really easy to get. You can get Taken armaments, Taken barrier, things like that. Just copy this build as I scroll through it. I have Taken armaments on my chest piece, and then the other mods on my chest piece are going to be those options I showed you earlier. And then for the leg piece, it'll be Taking Charge, or depending on if I'm using the bow or not, it might be Precision Charge, but that's also going to go back to, is Trinity going to be good for Grandmaster? Is it going to have the same ad clearing capabilities like Telesto will? Or will Telesto be a better option? That's really what it's going to depend on. And then again, if I'm using Void, I'll be using Oppressive Darkness. I might be using Devour, so Oppressive Darkness and Devour to keep getting my grenades back. That's going to really give me a hella recharge rate as well. But here's the regular strike version of Festering Core. There's some gameplay to kind of show you how this is going to play out. The Grandmaster version of this will be a shitload harder than what you're seeing right here. But you can see right here that I'll throw my grenade away, and then within a matter of no time, again, these are weak ads, I get my grenade back. And then I'll also have that hella rocket damage to take out those Cyclopses that are all through the boss battle and throughout the entire strike. So being able to take them out really fast and effectively is really going to help. There's also those Taken that have solar shields on. There's also void shielded enemies and arc shielded enemies at the boss fight. So Telesto or Trinity is going to work well with that. The shot that I do in the background ads, where I bank it off that wall and then shock them all with the Trinity Catalyst, it's fucking sick. It's one of the best catalysts that Bungie's made in a long time, but I still don't know how it's going to be on a Grandmaster. I did try doing a Master Nightmare hunt using Trinity, and the ad clear capability wasn't as great as I thought it was going to be. It still did a little bit of work, but I'm still really under light, and I don't know how much of a gap I'm going to be between Grandmaster and the light level we're going to be capped at using Contest Modifier. But one thing that I wanted to test out was how great is this going to be in a solo event, and how great is it going to be when I'm surrounded by a ton of ads. But what I'm probably going to end up doing is dropping my light and then loading these strikes in. If you didn't know, on PlayStation anyways, you can change the date back 2 days and then launch a strike from the strike playlist basically, or from the planet playlist, and it'll actually launch you in solo. So if you launch in with low light gear, you can set your clock back and launch it in solo, and then do a lot of testing while you're under light to kind of see how weapons are going to play when it's the Grandmaster version. Festering Core is probably going to be one of the hardest Nightfalls in the game, so I recommend anybody that wants to get a head start on trying to beast these Grandmasters, you can go ahead and start practicing now and start learning the strike and learn the ad layout to kind of know what kind of resist you're going to need for this strike. As I've said a million times, the resist mods are going to be what saves you revives in Grandmaster. They're the most vital tool of that and your recovery. And then having a fully functional build on, such as the build you see today, the Godslayer Warmind build. But Guardian, thanks for tuning in. Hopefully this build video or tutorial helps you out when you're putting together your own builds. There's a ton of different builds that I want to make this season. I'm also going to be grinding my Titan and my Hunter a lot this season. My Shadowkeep Hunter build is back, where I can get those 10-second Oppressive Darkness grenades. I can't wait to finally use that again. It's going to make Hunter fun. I'm actually going to do that as soon as I get done with this video and upload it. But anyways, man, y'all hit subscribe. You want more content, or if you want to see more content, hit the bell thing or whatever people tell you to do that a content creator is supposed to tell you to do. You can also join the B Squad if you want to support me on this channel and help it grow as well, man. But you're the Guardians that help me grow this channel and inspire me to make more content, because I love the Destiny community and I love the future of where this game is headed. Can't wait to get on Europa, Old Chicago, fighting the Veil. There's a lot of new cool and exciting builds for the future, and this DLC is a great start to that. But you Guardians, take it easy. My name's Ristophilis, and I will see you all on the next video next time.
In space.